There is a battle in history where, at a commander's order, the sun itself stopped in the sky. Standing at the very threshold of victory, a great danger suddenly appeared. The sun was setting, and according to the Sharia, once the sun set, carrying a sword would become completely forbidden. The enemy would escape. The certain victory would slip away. At that breathless moment, the commander looked toward the sky and gave the sun a command. "Stay exactly where you are." And immediately, breaking every law of the universe, the blazing sun in the sky truly stopped. Who was this fearless commander? Why did the sun obey his words? When you hear the full story, the hair on your body will stand on end. This story began some time after the passing of Prophet Musa, a.s. The Bani Israel were going through extreme despair and a complete absence of leadership. As punishment for their disobedience, stubbornness, and cowardice, they had been wandering aimlessly for 40 years in a vast and terrifying desert called T. Their true destination was the holy land of Baitul Maqdas, Jerusalem. But that holy city was then under the control of a group of enormous, powerful, and deeply oppressive disbelievers. The people of Bani Israel were so cowardly and weak-hearted that they had told Prophet Musa, a.s. directly to his face, "O Musa, you and your Lord go and fight. We will sit here. We cannot fight those giant-like men in any way." It was because of this extreme insolence that Allah imposed upon them that life of imprisonment in the desert. But the great Allah, Lord of all worlds, is most merciful. Rather than destroying the Bani Israel forever, after 40 years, he sent them a new prophet for their guidance and proper leadership. His name was Prophet Yusha ibn Nun, a.s. He was one of the most beloved students of Prophet Musa, a.s., his constant companion and service giver, and his worthy successor. In Surah Al-Kahf of the Holy Quran, when Prophet Musa, a.s., set out in search of Khidr, a.s., the young companion mentioned alongside him was this very Prophet Yusha ibn Nun, a.s. He was a courageous, far-sighted, wise, and deeply resolute prophet, with trust in Allah as firm as a mountain. Prophet Yusha ibn Nun, a.s., understood that this nation could no longer be left imprisoned in the scorching sands of the desert. Their lost honor had to be restored. He called all of Bani Israel together to one place. In his deep and faith-filled voice, he announced, "O my people, Allah, Lord of all worlds, has promised us that if we strive in His path and put our lives on the line in jihad, He will return to us that holy Baitul Maqdas. Rise up. How long will you drag yourselves through this desert like cowards? Come, let us take the name of the owner of the heavens and throw ourselves against those oppressors." But Prophet Yusha, a.s., knew very well that this was no ordinary fight. To win this war, an ordinary army would not be enough. Those whose hearts cling too tightly to this world, those whose faith is weak, could panic on the battlefield and endanger others. So before assembling his army, he announced one extraordinary and strict rule that no military commander in the world had ever enforced before. Standing before hundreds of thousands of people, he declared in a thunderous voice, "Listen, of those who come with me to this holy war, there are 3 types of people I will not take into my army. They must not come to the battlefield under any circumstances." Everyone was shocked. The enemy was already massive and powerful, their soldiers countless, their fortress impenetrable. And now, the Prophet of Allah was saying he would exclude soldiers. Who were these 3 types of people? Prophet Yusha, a.s., explained clearly and calmly. He said, "First, the man who has just recently married but has not yet spent his first night with his wife or started his household cannot come to war with me. Because when swords are clashing on the battlefield, his mind will remain with his new bride. He will not be able to fight wholeheartedly with his life at stake. Second, the man who has built a new house but has not yet finished its roof or slept a single peaceful night in it cannot come with me, because his mind will remain on that house of his dreams. And third, the man who has bought some pregnant camels, cows or goats and is waiting for them to give birth cannot join this jihad, because his mind will remain on his wealth. Think deeply for a moment about how much wisdom was hidden in this. Prophet Yusha a.s. was teaching his nation that to march in the path of Allah, the heart must carry no worldly attachment or pull. Those whose minds are divided between this world, those who are drawn toward worldly possessions, will grow weak on the battlefield. The fear of death will consume them. He chose only those sincere believers whose hearts held nothing but Allah and His pleasure. Those who were ready to give their lives with a smile, not to gain the world, but to gain Allah. After this selection process, the firm, pure and faith-filled army that was formed set out with Prophet Yusha a.s. toward Jerusalem. After a long and difficult journey, they reached close to that holy city. The city was surrounded by massive high stone walls. The disbelievers had already prepared for battle upon hearing of their approach. They mocked and laughed to themselves, thinking that Bani Israel were a weak and fearful nation who could be finished in an instant. The day was a Friday. As soon as the sun rose in the morning, the battle began. A fierce and bloody fight broke out between the two forces. The clashing of swords, the whistling of arrows, the cries of the wounded, and the neighing of horses made the entire valley tremble. The soldiers of Prophet Yusha a.s. were fewer in number, but their faith was harder than any mountain. They threw themselves upon the disbelievers like hungry lions. With every strike, it seemed as if Allah's help was descending upon them. The battle went on and on. Morning turned to afternoon, afternoon turned to evening. The disbelievers gradually realized they could no longer hold their ground against this army of believers. They began to retreat. The forces of Prophet Yusha a.s. reached the very threshold of victory. Just a little more time, just a few more hours, and they would completely eliminate the enemy and seize the holy city. But right at that critical moment, a great shadow of danger fell over them. Prophet Yusha a.s. suddenly looked toward the western sky. He saw that the sun had descended considerably. The time of sunset was drawing near. In just a short while, evening would arrive, and here lay the greatest and most terrifying problem. According to the Sharia of Bani Israel, Saturday was their day of worship, called the Sabbath, the day of rest. Their Saturday began from the setting of the sun on Friday evening, and their religion strictly commanded that no worldly work could be done on Saturday. Even fighting in self-defense was completely forbidden. If they continued the battle, they would be directly disobeying Allah's command. And if they stopped the battle, the disbelievers would use the darkness of the night to regroup, attack from all sides, and all the effort, bloodshed, and gains made until that moment would be lost forever. Time was running out like sand through fingers. The sun was right at the edge of the western sky. Any moment now it would disappear behind the mountains. Saturday would begin, and for Bani Israel holding a sword would become forbidden. Prophet Yusha a.s. looked at his army. The soldiers were exhausted, their bodies soaked in blood and sweat, but driven by the desire for victory, they were still pursuing the disbelievers. Just a little more time, just a few more hours. Prophet Yusha a.s. understood that the situation was now beyond the power of any human on earth. No king or emperor in the world had the ability to stop a setting sun. Now only the great Allah, Lord of the heavens and the earth, could save them from this crisis. He did not dismount from his horse. He sat upright. His eyes became fixed on that blazing sun in the western sky. He began to speak directly to that sun, hundreds of millions of miles away. In a deep and faith-filled voice, he said, "O sun, you are a servant of Allah's command, and I too am a servant of Allah's command. You are carrying out your duty, I am carrying out mine. But if you set right now, a great harm will come to the deen of Allah." Then that great prophet raised both his hands toward the sky and called upon his Lord with the deepest sincerity. Tears were flowing from his eyes. He said, "O Allah, O Master of the heavens and the earth, hold this sun in its place. Until we have defeated your enemies and achieved the final victory, do not allow the sun to set. Pause for a moment and truly think about this scene. A man standing on the soil of this earth, giving a command to a massive star to stop. Science tells us the sun does not orbit the earth orbits the sun. That means for the prayer of Prophet Yusha AS to be answered, the rotation of the entire earth would have to be paused for a time. Is that possible by any human logic? What is impossible for us, what is beyond our imagination, is for our Lord a matter of a single second. Before Prophet Yusha AS had even finished his prayer, the command of the great Allah was issued from the seventh heaven. Suddenly, that setting sun, which had been steadily descending moment by moment, became completely still. It was as if some enormous invisible hand had stopped the wheel of the universe. Time itself seemed to stand frozen. The wind moved normally, people moved normally. But that blazing sphere in the sky did not descend even an inch further. The soldiers of Bani Israel looked up at the sky, stunned and overwhelmed. It should have turned to dusk, but the afternoon simply would not end. The light of the sun remained as bright as before. Prophet Yusha AS turned to his soldiers and cried out, "O soldiers of Allah, see, Allah has accepted our prayer. The sun has stopped. Time is now on our side. Now throw yourselves upon the disbelievers. Do not give them a moment to gather their strength." The soldiers raised the cry of Allahu Akbar and attacked the disbelievers with double the force. In the light of the stopped sun, the most astonishing battle in the history of this world began. The fight continued until the last soldier of the disbelievers surrendered. Until the entire city of Jerusalem was completely under Muslim control, the sun remained fixed in that same spot in the sky. Not for a single moment did it descend. At last, when the banner of victory was raised over the Holy Land, when Prophet Yusha AS was certain that the holy city had returned to their hands, he fell into prostration on the ground in gratitude to the great Allah. And at that exact moment of victory, by Allah's command, the sun began to move again at its normal pace. In moments, it disappeared behind the mountains. Evening fell. Saturday began. But before that, Bani Israel had already received their longed-for and great victory. In the hadith of Sahih Bukhari, our beloved Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, said, "Other than the day of this battle of Yusha ibn Nun, the sun has never been held back for any human being in the history of this world." It was an extraordinary miracle of Allah granted solely for him. The battle was over, the city was won, but then came another great test. According to the Sharia of the prophets of earlier times, after gaining victory in battle, there was no permission to divide the spoils of war, the goods taken from the disbelievers among the fighters themselves. The permission to divide such spoils was made lawful only for the Ummah of our Prophet, PBUH. The rule in earlier times was that all the gold, silver, weapons and clothing collected from the battlefield would be piled up in a heap in an open field. Then an invisible fire would descend from the sky and burn everything to ash. If the fire came and burned the goods, it meant Allah had accepted their jihad and they were pure. If the fire did not come, it meant someone among them had stolen from the spoils or committed a grave sin that had caused Allah's help to be withheld. Prophet Yusha AS commanded his soldiers, "O my people, someone among us has committed a serious crime. Someone has stolen from the spoils and hidden it. And because of this one act of theft, Allah is not accepting our offering. Our jihad is not being accepted. The wrath of Allah may descend upon us all and we may be destroyed." But who was the thief? Among thousands of soldiers, finding a thief seemed as impossible as finding a needle in a haystack. No one came forward to confess. Then Prophet Yusha AS arranged an extraordinary and fearful test. He announced, "By Allah's command, I will find that thief myself. The chiefs of the 12 tribes of Bani Israel will come forward one by one and shake my hand. Whoever Allah's sign falls upon, I will hold them. In the open field, thousands of soldiers stood in pin-drop silence. Fear, dread, and intense curiosity were written across every face. Prophet Yusha, A.S., stood with a grave expression. One by one, the chief of each tribe came forward. They stepped up to the prophet, trembling, and grasped his hand. The first chief shook hands. Nothing happened. The second shook hands. Nothing happened. This continued. Then, when the chief of one particular tribe placed his hand in the hand of Prophet Yusha, A.S., something miraculous occurred. The prophet's hand seemed to lock onto that chief's hand like glue. It could not be separated. Prophet Yusha, A.S., thundered, "Stop! The theft has happened within your tribe. Someone from your tribe has betrayed the trust of Allah. Now send every member of your tribe to me. Each one will shake my hand." The ordinary members of that tribe came forward to the prophet, frightened. They knew there was no way to escape the sharp eyes of Allah's prophet that day. One by one they shook hands. Finally, when 2 or 3 of them placed their hands in the prophet's hand, their hands locked with his. Prophet Yusha, A.S., looked into their eyes and said, "You are the thieves. You are the ones who took what belonged to Allah. Tell me now what you stole. Otherwise, the wrath of Allah will descend upon all of us, and we will be destroyed." Those men began to weep in fear. They confessed to their hidden theft and said, "O Prophet of Allah, after the battle when we were gathering the enemy's possessions, we could not resist the sight of a golden sculpture in the shape of a bull's head. Its eyes were set with precious diamonds and emeralds. It was so valuable that we thought if we kept it hidden, we would become very wealthy. Without letting anyone know, we buried it under the ground in our tent." Think for a moment about the outcome of human greed. The same great Allah who had stopped the sun before their very eyes, whose direct command they were now violating for the sake of a small piece of gold. For that same piece, they were destroying their own hereafter. The Bani Israel's obsession with the golden calf was an old one, something they had never been able to erase from their hearts. Prophet Yusha, A.S., said sharply, "Go at once and bring back what you stole." They ran to their tent and brought out that large golden bull's head. Prophet Yusha, A.S., took it and threw it onto the pile of all the other possessions. He addressed everyone. "Now all of you stand back." Everyone stepped away, and right then a tremendous sound came from the sky. From the clear and cloudless heavens, a huge and terrifying column of fire descended. It fell upon that mountain of possessions. In an instant, everything blazed up. Mountains of gold, silver, weapons, and silk cloth were turned to ash in moments. The descent of fire meant that Allah had accepted their repentance and received their jihad. Bani Israel breathed a collective sigh of relief. They understood deeply that because of the theft of just 2 or 3 men, the entire nation had been on the verge of Allah's punishment. This gripping event from 1,000 years ago is not an ordinary story written on the pages of history. It carries a great warning and lesson for our lives today. First Prophet Yusha S. has taught us what our tawakkul, our trust in Allah, should look like. When he saw the sun descending, he did not despair or give up. He did not say in frustration that their time was up or their luck had run out. He did not seek help from people. He went directly to the owner of the heavens. Today, when we face small difficulties in our lives, when we suffer a business loss or lose a job, we fall into deep despair. But always remember, when a servant calls upon Allah with sincerity and deep conviction, Allah can change all the natural laws of this world for his servant. He who can stop a moving sun in the cosmos, can he not solve the small problems of your life? He absolutely can. We only need to ask in the way that is worthy of asking. The sun that stopped in the sky 1,000 years ago still bears witness for us today. The owner of the heavens and the earth is one, the great Allah, Lord of all worlds. Without his command, not even a single leaf of a tree moves. Let us live our lives following the halal and avoiding the haram. Let us abandon the temptations of this world, and in every difficulty, in every situation, place our complete trust only in Allah. May the great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us the ability to understand the right path and act upon it. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen.